And we are back once again. This is race number 5 in the Highline Racing League HighPoint Premier Series, and it is time to get the California Walnut Company Grand Prix underway. We are in practice right now. Roberto Ramirez is top of the charts with a 1 minute and 16 second lap, a 1:16.344, leading the way in the session so far, far and away, as it's going to be a 60-minute timed race. We're going to get more into that as the night goes on. 6 minutes right now of practice do remain, and we'll be getting to the show in just about 15 minutes time overall, as we're going to have 6 minutes of practice, 5, I believe, minutes of qualifying, though it could be bumped up to 8 or 10 minutes, potentially, depending on what's allowed for these drivers to get their laps in. And then we'll have one out lap before the 60-minute onslaught of racing begins. No stopping that. It's going to be a race of attrition all the way through. And right now, it looks like Roberto Ramirez is prepared for the most of it, as he's got a lap that is faster by almost a quarter of a second compared to the driver in second in Austin Bloom. Actually, he's got more than a quarter of a second on Bloom right now, as it's a 2/28 second deficit when it comes to 28 hundredths of a second deficit that Bloom has in comparison to Roberto Ramirez. Chad Winstead in third right now, following not Scott Wheeler, but Scott Wheeler is fourth on the chart so far, with Scott Zellner in fifth. The notable front runners are, as usual, up front in the timing charts, and Ramirez right now clawing through the left-right S's there, as we are using the historic layout for this race. And how about that? We're going to see the 43 machine going to back off. That is still the throwback design from last week, as the Ally 42 of Ramirez is ready to get to the action here in California. Now it's going to be just about 5 minutes remaining in practice, and still a lot of time before this race begins, and a lot of time before the action picks up to the fullest. But we thank you all for stopping by early, and we hope that you enjoy this race. It's going to be the shortest one of the season, and there are a lot of interesting factors going into this event, and a lot of information that is going to be presented as the night goes on. That's going to lead this to be perhaps one of the most interesting stories of the entire series. We are just about halfway through the championship, 5 of 12 races, and we get to that halfway point, and things are going to change entirely. And that's about the point where you can start saying that there are some guys who are absolutely championship front runners, and there are your guys who are perhaps out of the championship running, maybe a bit early, but nonetheless, this is the time where everything starts to solidify itself. And a guy like Roberto Ramirez looking to solidify himself as some of the best driving material we have in this track. Brad Kress, 6 on the charts right now in the 29 machine. Looking good right now. He is now just about 0.8 of a second off the top charting lap, as he's got 25 laps in his 29 machine under the belt of that 29 machine. That is the most of any driver so far. And using that practice time to get a lot quicker, as having that advantage in practice times is going to help him in the long run. 1 minute and 16 second laps here, and those are very quick at Watkins Glen and the IORA Cup Series. Earlier tonight, we were seeing 1 minute and 10 second laps. These next gens on road courses are very, very quick and very, very capable of effectively navigating the twists and turns and every challenge thrown at them. Scott Wheeler right now not on the racetrack, on pit road. Your points leader is in fourth, currently in the timing scoring standings, as Ramirez still on his way. Justin Gibbs in 8th, going to go down the inside line there on the 23 machine of Terry Brooks. Brooks in 11th in timing and scoring right now, so might be able to get a very strong run following last week's incident that he was involved in, although he's going to put it into the gravel that time by in the sand trap. And he's going to trap himself onto the entry of pit road. Or no, not the entry of pit road, but he's going to stop it entirely and take it to pit road, as multiple drivers on their way. Alan Kudman right now 9th on the charts in the 8 machine. As you can see, a lot of footwork going into the navigation of these turns. And it looks like a drift is going to go just a little too far. And going to have to navigate his way back onto the track with the Columbia-sponsored machine there, the 8 car. Reflective numbers on the sides. Yet another special paint scheme for the driver of the 8 machine, that Chevy Camaro. Kendall Kerr P10 right now in the 3-G machine. And it looks like he's going to dive right into the start-finish line with 2 minutes remaining in practice. Adam Bozzi on the track right now in the 27 machine. He is 14th on the charts, 2 seconds off of the best time. And it's interesting to know that those top guys are very close to one another, but from 4th to 5th, the gap, it really expands. It's going to be a 10th from Chad Winstead to Scott Wheeler, then 2 tenths from Scott Wheeler to Scott Zellner, and James McKee is half a second off of Scott Zellner's time, and that's going to become an exponential difference compared to a very close one, because Roberto Ramirez, while he has a 3/10 advantage over the second place driver right now, it is still much closer than the advantage that a driver like, let's just say, the driver of the 21 machine, Kendall Kerr, has over a driver like Adam Bozzi. It's going to be a whole second's difference right now. And as it stands, we have 23 drivers. That might just be the smallest field we've had so far, but still, a lot of guys going to have some time to join, as the Adidas 124 machine of Jeff Morash going to have a little bit of trouble navigating that turn. And he's going to roll just around the exit and get on his way once more. Matthew Rodriguez, 16th on the charts right now. And looking to improve just a bit. That is not going to be his best lap that he just had. I believe he went off track this time by, but with now less than a lap's time to get something done, not going to be able to make anything happen this time by. How about Adam Bozzi? Looks like he has just enough time to squeak one lap in. And Bozzi on his best pace by a second's deficit under himself, might be able to put himself in the higher ranks of the charts, into the top 10 on this lap alone. And coming through, he's going to drift it, keeps control of the car. He's pushing it to the hardest he can. And this is a 180-degree turn shades of Martinsville Speedway. And he's going to loop around it, and that's going to set him up beautifully. And this is absolutely the fastest lap he has gotten through. And that's going to be a great one for the driver of the 27 machine. Going to take him from the 14th spot on the charts. And it looks like it's actually going to drop him there. My apologies, Alan Kunman on his way as well. Looks like he's 9 tenths under on the average pace. And that is going to end practice. Kunman in 9th, but Roberto Ramirez is your top seeded driver in qualifying. Now it's going to be 10 minutes of qualifying, of course, with practice just concluded. And let's see who gets it done in this 10-minute dash for the pole position. Going to be very exciting to see who's able to get this one done. And it looks like Clint Spillman going to be the first driver on his way in the Ohio State number 4 machine. And a few other drivers on their way as well. Austin Bloom, Terry Brooks, Brad Crest, Jason Harris. With the addition of Scott Wheeler, who is on the racetrack as well, with Adam Bozzi, Jacob Hamm, Matthew Rodriguez, Brandon Wenjard, and Jeff Morash all hitting the track. And Wheeler looking to get yet another victory on the season, putting together a very good lineup of wins and podium positions so far. And nobody seems to be able to touch the driver of the 97 machine. He's been putting together an incredible season. It might just be able to cap off the first half with yet another victory here tonight. Pole position could set him up for an effortless victory if he manages his time effectively. We will just have to wait and see whether or not he's able to do so. And how about we ride on board with Scott Wheeler for this remainder of his outlap and see how he does it going through the final few segments of the track. Third gear so far, and this is the hairpin. So let's see what he's got going through it. Backing it down from 3rd to 2nd and not down to 1st. Very slow corner all the way down to the 30 miles an hour and gets it back on his way. And by the time he reaches the start-finish line, he's up to 4th gear, and here we go. It's go time for the driver of Scott Wheeler. Letting it off just a bit, going through the uphill climb. Start the lap. And it looks like it's going to be 4th to 2nd. The gears that are being used by the driver of the 97 machine right now, it's a range of 3 gears, including 3rd gear for Scott Wheeler, and he is pushing that thing to the limit right now, looking for that pole position, and he's hoping that nobody's going to be able to stop him. How about Brad Crest right now? Looks to be just behind the track of Scott Wheeler when it comes to distance. Whether or not he has the pace, we will find out. Austin Bloom on his way as well. Looks like he's going to cut right into the pit road entry there. Just use that as some track service. And Terry Brooks on his way as well. How about the driver in the 42 machine, Roberto Ramirez? And Ramirez is on his way to the Ally 42 machine as well. Just got through his out lap and on his way to his first lap of the session. And pushing it to the limit as well. You can see that car is sliding in and out. And that is an indicator of a driver who's absolutely going 110% in the car right now. And he's using every single curb to his advantage. Clint Spillman going to be the first driver with a time set. That's a 118.732, top of the charts. But Scott Wheeler's going to best him by a second, and Brad Kress gets him as well. Brad Kress at the top of the charts with a 1 minute 17.027 compared to Scott Wheeler's 1 minute 17.28. How about that for the driver of Brad Kress? And Chad Winstead in the 10 machine. He's going to put it up to third on the charts as well. Very impressive job there for the driver of the 10. And a great job nonetheless for all the drivers who have qualified so far. Garrett Sindor going to put a third on the charts, now 6 on the charts. And now it looks like nobody's able to best Brad Kress. We'll find out whether or not Roberto Ramirez is anything for him. Coming across the start-finish line, what does he have? The 42 is going to set at top of the charts with a 1 minute 16.899. An incredibly impressive lap. And that's going to send him to the top with Scott Zellner taking himself into the 4th position. The freaky fast machine looking to push himself just a little bit more. And you can see that he's riding those curbs as hard as he can. Justin Gibbs in the 93 machine with the Mitchells 8-9 commenting regarding Justin Gibbs' relation to Ty Gibbs there. And that's a very interesting comment. Thank you for your support. But Justin Gibbs appears to be a one and done there on his lap. As Brad Kress on his way as well. Whether or not Kress is going to be able to improve on his time, we will find out. Comes to the stripe, and it looks like he's going to be able to take the top honor so far. Brad Kress leading qualifying at the moment. Scott Wheeler, Roberto Ramirez appears to be not done. The 42 is not, but Scott Wheeler is done. So this is going to be a battle for pole position as it stands. James McKee going to put it in the 9th position for the driver, the number 9 machine. But how about this? This is the battle for pole. Coming down to the hairpin. What's he got in store? Hugging those barrels. Getting a monster exit. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. What's he got? Austin Bloom going to take second for now. But getting first, will he do it? Roberto Ramirez will do it. Back to the top of the charts, and it looks like nobody's going to be able to stop him. Bloom, Kress, both off track. And cutting no slack. It's Roberto Ramirez, new pole sitter provisionally. Scott Zellner on his way, still getting some practice laps. Justin Gibbs off, James McKee on, Brad Kress into the wall, and Jason Harris on his way as well. Looks like a lot of these guys have gotten to their 3rd lap already. Dylan Petit on his way in the 31 machine. This will be his first timed lap. And it looks like provisional pole is going to go the way of Roberto Ramirez. A lot of pace coming from that 42 machine as the race is just getting started here. In 4 minutes time, the 42 seems to be an early favorite. The race is getting into its early stages. Dylan Petit going to drop that car into position number, it appears, none. That lap is not going to be validated. That's a 1 minute 27.282. This is going to be his one and done lap due to that minor error. Terry Brooks on pit road right now. Looks like he's already gone 2 laps through. His qualifying run going to be over. He's going to be riding shotgun at the very worst. iRating might carry him up to a few extra places. Not going to be 100% sure until we see the final lineup. Dylan Petit looks to be the last driver to be able to get his qualifying run in. Let's watch the onboard perspective from the driver of the 31. And Petit in 2nd gear runs it back up into 3rd. And this is the fastest section of the racetrack. Absolutely. Keeping it a 3rd consistently. This might be the fastest section, or the mini section of that fastest section of the S's. Gets it into 4th. A little more of a precise turn there. It's keeping it into 4th. Gets it up to 8,500 revs a minute. And backs it down into 2nd gear all the way down to 3,300 RPMs. And shooting out of that corner for the final time, that's going to be Dylan Petit. And the 31, one last time, looks to be a final driver in qualifying. That's going to be putting him all the way up into 11th position on that note. That's going to end the run for the driver, the 31 machine. It looks like no other driver is coming out to qualify. And that should be what sets your grid, with the exception of a few drivers who have not come out to get the qualification done. Matthew Rodriguez and Alan Kunman, but they are in an interesting bunch, and we have not mentioned this so far, but penalty reports are out this season, and we have just recently gotten yet another penalty report, and it looks like Matthew Rodriguez gets an end-of-line penalty and a 2-race probationary period for intentionally wrecking last week. And how about that for the driver of the 57? Alan Kunman is going to be given an end-of-line penalty for passing 3 wide before the start-finish line, and that is not allowed as well. Road course this week, of course, and these guys appear to have taken their end-of-line penalties here in Sonoma. And as a result, they're going to be starting at the back of the field, and a few other guys have just not come out to qualify just yet. Not sure what's going on there. And no Unger saying bars in the chat. Thank you for your support as well. I've greatly appreciated that. And 1 minute and 30 seconds. We've already passed that point. 1 minute and 22 seconds before we get to the gridding procedure. And before we get to that procedure, how about we get an interview with a driver who appears to be your provisional pole sitter, Roberto Ramirez. Fastest in practice leads to fastest in qualifying. How you feeling going into the 60-minute showdown? Looking to see if we have a copy. Roberto Ramirez, how you feeling going into the race? A minute to go in qualifying, so provisional pole sitter seems to be locked up so far. And it appears, unfortunately, not getting a copy from the driver of the 42 machine. Thank you nonetheless for being in the voice chat, but it looks like not going to be able to get anything for the driver of the 42 at the moment. We'll hopefully be getting something from him in a few moments' time, or maybe an hour's time if he gets that victory. We will find out whether or not he's capable of doing so, but if he is, it's going to be a race to remember for the 42 team. Trap House Racing, Team Trap House, looking to get it done in style. With 16 seconds to go, it looks to be their driver on pole position. Roberto Ramirez leads the field into green and the California Walnut Company Grand Prix here at Sonoma. Qualifying is over. It's gonna be go time for the starting grid procedure, and we can't wait to show off your grid once again here. And we're thinking outside the oval, that's for certain. The starting ticker showing that slogan, and it's going to be the highest thing in this racetrack, with the exception of the natural elevation, the scoring pylon. That's a good majority of these guys already set to get onto the grid. And here we go. Let's watch from the perspective of the first position driver in Roberto Ramirez, who does not appear to be there just yet. Brad Kress, he's there, and he's ready to get this show on the road. And here is your starting grid for tonight. I bet it's going to be Roberto Ramirez in the first position and Brad Kress in the second spot. And they are separated by 0.2 of a second. Then it's going to be Austin Bloom, Scott Wheeler, third and fourth. And rounding out your top 5, it is going to be the driver of the fifth position car in Scott Zellner, coming off his 10th career victory, the all-time high in this series. And Chad Winstead in sixth. Look out for him to have a great run. Jason McKean 7th and Clint Spielman in 8th, and then it's going to be Justin Gibbs and Adam Bosnia rounding out the top 10 here tonight. Dylan Petit in 11th, Jason Harris in 12th, Kendall Kerr in 13th, Garrett Sidnor in 14th, and Kenny Brooks is going to round out the top 15 with Jeff Morash in 16th. And Jacob Hall, the last driver to qualify on time, is the 17th position starter with a 1 minute 22.023. And then we have Alan Goodman, Dalton Beer, Matthew Rodriguez, Ty Smith, Terry Brooks, riding shotgun this final row of Brandon Wengard and Andrew Baker. That is your 24-car field for tonight's event. And we're going to loop it back to the starting line. The top 2 drivers out in front. It's going to be Ramirez and Kress leading the way here tonight. And let's see what these two have with 60 minutes on the clock. This is going to be an especially important race for these guys, as in their decade-plus history of racing, this is the first timed race in Highline Racing League history, and that is quite the achievement to have gone just about a decade without even trying the idea, but now they are trying it and looking to see whether or not it's a success here at a road course, a very, very unique track Sonoma is. And with 60 minutes on the clock, no stopping, it's going to be a little bit complicated because we do not have an infinite amount of laps. But it appears our ticker believes that is the case. And it is a timed event. The laps won't matter. 59 minutes, 59 seconds on the clock. And these guys are going to be pushing it to the limit. Infinite laps, practically. But at the end of the day, you can't be infinitely quick. Just got to be the best you can be if you want to get that checkered flag. Roberto Ramirez is one of the favorites here on the road course. Brad Kress is as well. It's down there. Wheeler, Austin Bloom, Brad Kress. Of course, we mentioned beforehand, it looks like the top 5 are all road racing favorites. The top 6 are as well. And every single one mentioned to me in pre-race is in the top 6. Impressive from every one of them. No runoff, no caution flag, new car. Let's see what these guys have. It's going to be a myriad of challenges getting into this one. Timed race. Let's see who sets the pace. Roberto Ramirez is going to lead him off, and we are green from Sonoma. Let's get the game underway. It is not a game, it's a race. Let's get this one going. It's the California Walnut Company Grand Prix from Sonoma. And early on, Ramirez takes a great start. Looks like James McKee going to run just a bit wide. And everyone gets through thus far in the race. We're trying to get an effective wide shot. As you can see, the fan camera, we're following the mid-pack with James McKee, and you can see a good majority of the field right now as Roberto Ramirez leads the way. We're going to be watching the wide shot throughout this first lap to make sure everyone gets through just fine. Kendall Kerr going to go very, very wide there. He's still racing just behind Garrett Sidor. He's in 14th position right now, but it looks like everybody has gotten through, and nobody is out of this race just yet. Brad Kress second, but Roberto Ramirez leads the way with 59 minutes remaining on the clock. And everyone seems to be doing just fine so far. Single file affair with the majority of these drivers. Scott Zellner, though. Scott Zellner appears to be falling fast through the leaderboard. And there he is. There's the two machine of Scott Zellner. First incident of the day. And just coming off of his 10th career win, Zellner in the wall and appears to have already towed it. Let's see what just happened. Looks like he might have just broken a tow link. No runoff, shoots it into the tire barrier, and nothing he can do. Sent it into the wall, and that was from 5th position. And that's going to end this race immediately. No drive on that car, and the Freaky Fast machine has gone to pit road immediately. That car is destroyed. Roberto Ramirez is going to lead lap 1 as they pass the pit road with only one car out of this race so far, and that is the Scott Zellner machine. Everyone nonetheless has been able to make it through so far as we are watching intervals to see some close battles. How about the one for 18th right now? It's going to be Matthew Rodriguez involved in this one. And there we go. The 57 machine appears to be 3/10 away from his nearest driver. And we got multiple drivers coming onto the runoff there. There was Jeff Morash, who just got onto the runoff strip there. The Adidas machine already looked to be a bit banged up. Goes off, lets a few drivers through. A little bit of a crowded situation as Matthew Rodriguez and Roberto Ramirez appears to be in the lead, but only by so much. He is skidding right now. And he's going to be blipping in and out of the screen, but he is still leading the way. Chased down by Brad Kress, who looks to have turned on the jets just a bit. Gain just a little bit of time. Jason Harris fighting with Kendall Kerr as Kendall Kerr gets sent to the outside line through the hairpin. And Kerr not going to be happy about that one, as he's going to have to live to fight another day in that 21 machine. And everyone running a relatively similar line. It looks like Kerr going to use a little bit of a wider entry to the first turn to maybe get a more effective run on the second. Not going to happen that time by, though. Looks like it just did not play out in his favor there. But still, keeping a very close watch on a driver just in front of him. That driver is Jason Harris as he gets into the gravel just a bit. Sand trap, gonna trap him and loses momentum, but he's still on his way. And we got a spin just in front, almost. And it looks like Justin Gibbs is gonna save it. On his way once again, Justin Gibbs is. And we caught that from the onboard of Kendall Kerr. But nonetheless, very impressive job there to keep that one away from the wall. And with very little run-off area, it's going to be an impressive job to see anyone save it. And he was just about 45 degrees sideways. Nobody hits him. Nobody gets slowed down all too much. The battles are still on their way. Justin Gibbs still fighting for position as hard as ever. Dylan Petit there with Clint Spillman and Jason Harris as Kendall Kerr has worked his way back up into 11th. And it looks like Jason Harris going to try to make a lunge. Not going to be able to make that one work on the wide side. And Kendall Kerr tried to make it happen there as well. Opportunistic multiple times over. And neither of them are able to make much happen there. Clint Spillman on his way. Looks like he's lost a lot of time in this lap, but Garrett Sidnor has as well. Only one driver out of this one so far. It is Skill Scott Zellner. Unfortunately, the driver who just came out of his 10th career victory, not able to repeat the success tonight in this road course. Now it looks like we just cut away from a battle there. My apologies. Single file still nonetheless, and it looks like it's going to be Terry Brooks involved with Alan Kunman and Garrett Sidnor. Let's go watch from the rear view camera of Garrett Sidnor to see what's going on in the back of the field. It looks like Terry Brooks having a little bit of a later braking style, trying to get a diamond through the corners. And he gets a monster middle, but not enough on the exit. But Alan Kunman is coming in quick. Brooks has a rear end full of that Columbia 8 machine. And certainly Kunman looking to get back into the front of this pack. Adam Bozzi appears to be losing position big time. And that he is, as there's a little bit of a stack up double file through the hairpin. Kendall Kerr now on his way as Alan Kunman's going to be able to pass Terry Brooks. And no theme for these paint schemes tonight, but they're still looking great. The 3G21 shades of Tyler Reddick's car, still Chevy Camaro, just a different number, different driver, and different windshield banner there with the Highline Racing League logo on top. And an impressive performance. Tyler Reddick seems to be the road course king with the next gens this year, getting it done in 2 the road courses that we've seen so far. And a very good job in both performances. Of course, I believe actually Sonoma, one of them, the Chevy Camaros won, and that was by Daniel Suarez. These Camaros looking very good at this racetrack. So watch out for these guys to keep it going. Tyler Reddick, he won at Road America, and he also won at the Indianapolis Roval. So a very competitive road course driver, the driver of the 3G car in real life, and Kevin Kerr will carry that on to the virtual world here as well. Ramirez leads the way over Brad Kress by just about a second right now. Still single file ordeal there. The 3 machine is the 3 car in 3rd, and Scott Wheeler is in 4th. Chad Winstead 5th, and James McKee is moved up to 6th. Didn't have the best of starts. He was very wide on that first lap. He's made his way back up using the war of attrition to his advantage. And a very good job there from the driver of the 9 machine, James McKee. Dylan Petit in the 31 as Clint Spillman's going to lose a lot of time there. And Brad Kress, no. Adam Bozzi going to be on his case as Brad Kress is still in 2nd. And it looks like the closest battle on the racetrack right now is not with Jeff Morris. It is with Jeff Morris. There's a wreck on the racetrack yet again. Mordash looks to have spun it out there. He parks it, and the 76 machine of Jacob Halm gets to him. No contact. Halm able to avoid an incident, just loses a little bit of position as Jeff Morash spins it back around. Now we watch the onboard perspective from the driver of the 76 machine going half a minute back and see what happened from his perspective. And Halm in the Crest 76, you can see that he watches, but there's nowhere to go on the racing line, so just have to brake and gets it going immediately. Only loses 1 position. But Morash down into 22nd, now loses 2 positions. And Jacob Halm gonna have to fight to get those both back. It looks like Scott Wheeler on his way as well. Nothing in the front of the pack appears to be incident related. Alan Kunman still going strong. James McKee as well. Side by side behind Alan Kunman, though, with Garrett Sidnor for just a moment, and Terry Brooks still fighting with that 50 machine. One in the grass there, or rather one in the gravel. That's Adam Bozzi. He's still on his way, but he's going to lose a lot of time after that one. Kendall Kerr chasing him down, but Kerr is now in 15th. Looks like he lost a few spots from an incident that we did not catch. Let's try to go and catch that one after the fact. send it back 2 minutes to see whether or not this is when it happened. Because certainly, Kendall Kerr losing multiple spots there, and there is what happened. Looks like he got into the driver of the 27 machine in Adam Bossi, and he went around and lost multiple places as a result. 10 minutes into this race, we've seen a myriad of incidents. Hops the curb, collects Bossi. Both drivers, no major damage. Tires must be destroyed, but nonetheless, they're on their way. 7 laps through. Coming defended hard, and so did Kendall Kerr. And Kerr still got the position over Matthew Rodriguez as it stands. Adam Bossi 14th and Kendall Kerr in 15th. 50 minutes remaining. The single file battle is now a single file battle. Was double file between Brooks and Sidner, but Sidner pulling away as Roberto Ramirez has slightly lost the gap he had to Brad Kress. It's a 7/10 difference right now. And Kress reeling him in. That was a great exit there for Brad. Might be able to make the pass within a lap or two's time. And this is the battle for the lead, heating up after 10 minutes. Kress gonna have to play it perfect. Last time by, he was 7/10 of a second faster. This time by, he was just about 4/10 faster. So he has gained just about a tenth, or rather a second and a half on our leader as Ramirez is coming up to our first lap traffic of the night. Dalton Beer just in front of the leaders. Let's watch the onboard. Gonna let Ramirez by easily. And he's going to let both leaders by as well. Looks like it's going to be Austin Bloom getting him as well. And there it goes, Dalton Beer, your first lap car of the night. And how about that there? The driver of the 38 machine. Chad Winstead is now going to be the next one to chase him down. Scott Whelan seems to be in a world of his own. Nobody competing with him. Top 3 in front, and Chad Winstead held up in the back. Ramirez still leads now by a second, thanks to that lap car in the driver, the 38. Kenny Brooks fighting right now for position. It looks like he's got just a few drivers behind him. And now it's about a second's difference everywhere in the pack. The closest drivers now, Kunman and Gibbs. With Alan Kunman chasing down Justin Gibbs for P10. And if you do enjoy the action, 48 minutes remain. Be sure to like and subscribe. Always greatly appreciated. This is the California Walnut Company Grand Prix, presented by Stadium Scene TV in association, of course, with Stadium Scene TV for everyone watching on that network. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy the presentation. It's always greatly appreciated. I hope you enjoy future content that we have collaborating with the incredible organization of Stadium Scene. Alan Kunman chasing down Justin Gibbs and Clint Spillman as well. But the top 10 appear to be clean and green so far. Roberto Ramirez still fighting for the lead. He has a 1.4 second advantage to Brad Kress now, who's being held up by the 27 machine of Adam Bossi. Austin Bloom getting closer to Kress now. There might be a battle for second rather than a battle for the lead, as it's going to be some tire smoke there from the driver of the 29 machine. How about that? 47 minutes remain for these guys fighting for that victory. Jason McKee going to send it through Dalton Beer, protecting his 6th position racing position, of course, and looking to get that top 5. Maybe he'll be able to catch up to Chad Winstead. Will be a hard task. Winstead and McKee both driving very well tonight. Austin Bloom on your screen once again. Looks like he's going to get into the gravel just a bit, as Adam Bossi's going to be in the gravel as well. And Bossi, one lap down, is going to be sending it to the pit road. We sent it back very, very early. But here we go. Going to get it closer to when the incident occurred. Now let's watch. And sliding it around with all the lead lap cars coming around him, just sends it right into the wall. And not trying to hit any of the leaders. Unfortunately, the only other place you can go is into the wall. Adam Bozzi now 1 lap down. Brad Kress is still in second. Roberto Ramirez still leads the way. And he's just about out of frame, the leader is, compared to the remainder of the field. And how about that? There's a major gap now held by the 42 machine. Looks like he let off the throttle for just a few laps. Had a 2/10 deficit, but now it is a 2.7 second deficit. And we are about a quarter of the way through the race. Chad Winstead in 5th. Losing just a few tenths to James McKee. Both fighting for the position. Of course, it is a fight against the track. Not just a fight against any other driver. And that is the difference between Sonoma and most other tracks that challenge this track is in itself. And that's not even adding in any other driver that you have to battle with for position. Gibbs going to get very slippery. It is going to let Cutman go, but saves again for the 2nd time tonight. Very impressive. We're going to get a slight instant replay on that one. A great job for the 93 machine, still on his way in 12th. Alan Goodman getting to the top 10 on that maneuver. And it looks like the 93 machine is struggling now, but Alan Goodman better than he has been all race up to the top 10 for the first time tonight on a green flag condition. Jeff Morash going to have to let the driver of the 9 machine through, and James McKee going to hit the wall once again. Morash does. James McKee on his way. The SP design machine of McKee chasing down Chad Winstead as stated beforehand. It's a gap of about 5 seconds. He has 2 Winstead, and it looks like Dylan Petit has a gap of 5 seconds too. James McKee, of course, Dylan Petit, the 31 machine fighting with that Kohler Generators machine, looking to get into the top 5 as well. Closest battle on the racetrack though, it is for 10th and now 9th as Clint Spillman fights with Alan Goodman. Goodman gets the position there, and now he's up to 9th. It's a multitude of the Blacktop Racing drivers in the top 10 now with McKee and Goodman. The driver, Kendall Kern, not too far behind. He's in 14th. And Matthew Rodriguez in 15th now. Pretty far from the majority of the drivers with Brandon Wegnard in 16th. And he's about 20 seconds off of Rodriguez. Clint Spillman went around there. Looks to be the only driver involved, but that's going to be a big spin for his chances in the top 5. Now down to 12th. As you can see, 360s it. Nobody else involved. Self-spin for the driver of the 4 machine. And he gets it back underway. Down to 13th. Clint Spillman is now just behind Terry Brooks. He's going to have to fight through as Kendall Kerr is going to get him this time by on the inside line. Austin Bloom fighting with Scott Wheeler Jr. it appears. But now fighting with Brad Kress as well. It's a less than a second difference between 2nd and 3rd even still. Terry Brooks on his way. He's in 12th now. Justin Gibbs 11th, and Garrett Sidnor is in 10th. And that makes for the first time the top 10 attainable for Kendall Kerr since the beginning of this race. A lot of guys making a lot of mistakes so far. Very tricky track Sonoma is. And the best of them are rising to the top of the order by means of raw pace or the ability to keep the car clean. 41 minutes remain in this race. Roberto Ramirez still leading far and away over Brad Kress. As Austin Bloom in third. Sees as Scott Wheeler's going to get right around the 76 machine. And that was Jacob Halm. Clean maneuver on the outside, and he's still fighting. Gary Brooks still with Kendall Kerr right now. Kerr in 13th, fighting to get to 12th. And there he goes. Kendall Kerr going to dive it down to the inside line. Both drivers do. A little more of a diamond there from Kendall Kerr as it looks like Clint Spillman going to fight with Matthew Rodriguez. A little bit of a shunt there. But Clint Spillman going to lose the position to Rodriguez. Now it's going to be the 57 and 14. James McKee in 6th at the moment. Scott Wheeler, no chance to battle with Chad Winstead. Winstead very far back in comparison to the driver, the 97. Austin Bloom in 3rd. Gary Brooks in 13th right now. Now up to 12th, actually. Chasing down Justin Gibbs, who's involved with the battle, and Garrett Sidnor being the driver just in front of him. And Sidnor been knocking on the door of the top 10 all night. Now he is in the top 10 and looks to be fighting with Alan Kudman there for the 9th spot. If he's able to get up to it, it's going to be a very interesting battle. Let's see what these guys have in store. Jeff Morash just behind him right now. Lap cars are playing a factor in this race now. Scott Wheeler Jr. fighting hard to try to get up to the driver of Austin Bloom, as Bloom is still keeping touching distance with Brad Kress. In racing, it's one thing to pass someone and another thing to catch them. And oftentimes, catching someone is easier than passing them. But right now for Austin Bloom, I think if you got asked, would you be able to catch him and then pass him? I think you'd say absolutely 100% yes. So if you put him in the same position, he's a little closer. He probably would have been able to make an attempt at the pass, with a second being the difference. Now second and a half being locked up by a lap car there in the 54 machine. A lot harder. Keep his way with optimal pace. He fights through a sea of drivers in a lower position. And as it stands, every driver seems to be fanning out at the moment. Alan Goodman coming down, getting closer to the S's section of the racetrack. And using the curves to his advantage. 38 minutes remaining. Roberto Ramirez still is your race leader. And Brad Kress and Austin Bloom still separated by a tenth and almost a tenth and a half. And James McKee in the 6th spot. 11 seconds behind Chad Winstead, still pushing to the limit. It looks like his last lap was not calculated, but it would be around the 1 minute 18 range if he's within his lap timing, it appears. And the SP Designs machine that time by 1 minute 18.475. Impressive lap there for the driver of the 9 machine. 18 lap old tires, 18 laps through for the leaders. Roberto Ramirez being the top driver in this race. Kunman in 9th, Sidnor in 10th, and Justin Gibbs in 11th appear to be the closest bunch of drivers in this one so far. And the driver ending them all off, it is the driver of the 93, Justin Gibbs, who trails the remainder of his battle. Sidnor trying to get back up into Alan Kudman's area. And getting the draft through the S's will be especially important. If he's able to do so, would mean a lot for the chances to win this race for the driver of the 50 machine. Of course, winning might be a little bit far-fetched, but playing strategy right, and he might be back in the contention. Every position matters through this first stint. How about Jason Harris having a quiet night, but a very good one for the Batman machine. And he is in the number 7 machine, but he is in 8th. It looks like the 54 machine is going to go off there on the racetrack. That was Kenny Brooks. It was 7 of Jason Harris going to pass him. Harris having a great night in the top 10. Solid performance, and he's going to be able to make it happen lap after lap, and that's what matters. in a timed race with no caution. You just got to be able to put yourself to the test and fight for it. Dylan Petit in 7th. Looks to be about 4 seconds ahead of the driver of the submachine in his own world, fighting as well, but he's keeping it together. He's still in the top 10. Brad Kress now has a 6-second deficit to Roberto Ramirez. It's not even close. The ballpark range has been extended. Already out of the hairpin, Roberto Ramirez is, and just getting into the hairpin for the driver of the 29 machine. It looks like Jason Harris might have lost a position, although it appears to be a timing and scoring error. Not sure what that was about. And every driver swapping through the S's. Justin Gibbs still following this slight pack. Scott Wheeler in 3rd, not able to catch up to Austin Bloom just yet, but they're still keeping touching distance as well, about 1.5 seconds between 3rd and 4th in the 3 and the 97 machines respectively. Kendall Kerr, then Terry Brooks. It looks like Kendall Kerr is in 12th now, getting closer and closer to that top 10. It's going to be Jeff Morash getting off of the racetrack and getting back on just in front of Terry Brooks. Morash having a tough night when it comes to controlling that car, but nonetheless only 1 lap down and multiple drivers below him in the standings. Scott Zellner is one of them, 19 laps down and the last. As we continue to look throughout the field, Alan Kunman looks to be chasing Jason Harris, and he's got an awful lot of speed right now. How about that for Alan Kunman as he's going to be chasing Jason Harris? How about we go on board with Kunman and see what he sees? And Alan Kunman in the 8 machine on your screen right now, chasing Jason Harris. And Jacob Brooks coming into the chat. Austin or Blaine, are you watching? And I believe that's asking other members of the Brooks family, because we do have the driver of the 54 machine watching along. It's actually, we do have 2 members of the Brooks family, I believe, in Kenny Brooks and, of course, Terry Brooks. And then Mitchell's 89 in chat saying yes, and it's a Brooks affair here with 2 drivers with the same last name, the 54 and 23, in this race. As watching on board with Alan Kunman, thank you both for stopping in the chat and supporting this race. Greatly appreciated, as always. Every bit of support is always greatly appreciated on this channel. It means the world to me. As Alan Kunman is now getting closer and closer to Harris, he's going to make a big mistake and step off of the apex there. Watching Jacob Harris's rear view camera, you're going to see how much closer Kunman is getting. The gap is within a second, and each time by, Kunman just appears to be getting faster and faster. And Scott Wheeler in the 3rd spot. Now the 4th spot. He's fighting hard, as it looks like Austin Bloom is as close as he's been to the driver of Brad Kress. As he's been all race. Impressive job by Bloom to keep touching distance, but now he's starting to gain on him. And Jason Harris still fighting hard with Alan Kunman. They're as close as they've been all race. And not down to the inside line just yet. We're getting very close. Jason Harris is to being passed by Alan Kunman. 32 minutes remaining. These guys are fighting as hard as ever, even though we're far from the last lap. And pit cycles appear to be underway. James McKee coming in just over the halfway point. Not sure if he'll be able to make it on fuel. He might be trying to stretch it, though it would be a risk. And McKee on his way, getting the undercut. And he's going to take 4 tires and fuel. Roberto Ramirez still on the racetrack. This could be the moment that our leader comes into pit road. Let's find out. Doesn't look like it will be. And it looks like Ramirez will go half the race on one set, as it looks like Jason Harris is on. And now off the racetrack. And he just got a load of damage. Couldn't have been up to 7th now. Let's see what just happened. And still in front of Kunman, Jason Harris was. And he just overstepped it, sent it into the barrier. And that's going to ruin his night there. How about that? Gets back out on the racetrack, but that's a lot of damage on that right side. As pit cycles are underway, we are watching a majority of these guys, as it looks like the driver of the 97 machine for a short moment was labeled as one of those guys who went down on pit road. He has not just yet, but this time our race leader will not go down pit road because he is pretty far from the entrance. Garrett Sidnor on his way, but Alan Koodman is as well. He's gone half of the race on one set. Koodman has, and he's from 7th position. Coming down, Jason Harris is as well from 11th. And Ramirez going to be tasked with going half of the race on one set. Almost exactly half, as our leader is coming down onto pit road. He's led every second of this race. And we're getting a 50.93, let's go. And that is Garrett Sidnor and Justin Gibbs, both of them in this one. And they are 7th and 8th, as we got one off the track. That is Jacob Halm, lapped car. And 50 and 93 are battling each other right now. And how about that? If these two are within about 0.3 of a second from one another. Very impressive job by both of them. As pit cycles are underway, Clint Spillman on to pit road for the first time tonight. First and only time tonight. How about that? And everyone's going to be able to lag out for just a moment there. Roberto Ramirez still leads the way. With Ramirez leading, remainder of the field is still fighting for position. 29 minutes. We have already passed the halfway point. Impressive job by every one of these drivers. Brad Kress in second, Austin Bloom in third, Scott Wheeler in fourth. Top three guys appear to still be going, as if fuel is none of their concern. 24 laps in, and Roberto Ramirez is about as fast as ever. His last lap was only 0.2 slower than his best lap. That's on 24 lap old sets, and he's not stopping just yet. The Morash machine's gonna go to the outside line. Ramirez still on his way, and it looks like all of these guys are capable of going more than halfway, in spite of the fact that it appears to be just a bit of a risk. And looking for a battle on the racetrack, it looks like we do have one in Matthew Rodriguez and Jacob Halm. And Rodriguez has clawed up to Jacob Halm, as we do have Kelly Bloom coming in the chat saying, "Go Austin." And Austin Bloom having a great night tonight. He is in third right now, and he's chasing down second. It's a half a second deficit, the closest it's been all race, as Garrett Sidnor is going to come down on the pit road. It looks like, but it does not appear to be the case. My apologies. Looks like a bit of a fake out there as Austin Bloom is so close to getting that second spot. It's a very close battle, and Brad Kress has been a master of defense all night. Let's go and watch on board for the driver of the 29 and see what he sees, or see what his rear mirror is showing, as the driver of the green machine is hunting him down. And Kress still fighting there, using every single inch of the track. Still not down pit road, these leaders are. They both come off with a decent exit. Kress gets it just better than Bloom does. 26 laps through on an estimated 47 laps according to timing and scoring. These guys are past halfway in terms of laps. He's got one down on the gravel. That is Jeff Morash. Dylan Petit and Justin Gibbs are going to be able to fight for position for just a moment. And Austin Bloom in the 3 machine is still fighting as hard as ever, trying to make something happen here before the pit cycle. Using the Robart camera, a very clear perspective from the front end of the car. This could be the lap where these guys come down pit road. 26 minutes remaining. They've got to come down once. And surely they're going to choose to do so in the near future. As these two fighting for third, like they're fighting for the victory. 10 seconds behind the race leader tonight, still doing very well. Both of them are. Nonetheless, Roberto Ramirez running a clinic. His lap times have not slowed down since his best possible lap. And as a result, the lack of degradation on that tire appears to be the reason he's still leading the way with force. Closest battle on the racetrack right now, it appears to be involving Justin Gibbs and Garrett Sidner. Once again, we got one off the racetrack, Dalton Beer. One parked on it. Scott Wheeler in third. Has gone past Austin Bloom. Something has happened. Looks like Austin Bloom went off the racetrack for just a moment. We're going to try to get an instant replay on the matter. And we can see he went into the sand there. We'll see what just happened to cause it. As Bloom so close to Brad Kress all race. Shot it wide. And he's going to lose a spot as a result. Now it's Scott Wheeler's time to try and chase down Brad Kress, who's having a great race out there in second. Top 10 drivers still on 27 lap old tires, stretching it as long as they can. Austin Bloom now on full push mode, trying to get back to Scott Wheeler. Garrett Sidner coming off of the final few turns, and looks like he's just disconnected for just a moment. And Sidner on his way. Nonetheless, looks like he's having a little bit of an issue with his server-sided connection. Not sure why that is happening, but Roberto Ramirez still leads the way nonetheless. Justin Gibbs fighting now with Dylan Petit. It's a 0.6 of a second gap between these two. And Gibbs appears to maybe be the faster one, as he's just gotten up to the driver of the 31 machine in style. And how about that for the closest battle on the racetrack? Now it appears to be involving Austin Bloom, who's made up several seconds on the driver of Scott Wheeler, turning on the Jets. Very impressive job there. And the job is not done, as Bloom, while having a slow lap last time by, is coming around for what might be his best lap all race, with Scott Wheeler just in front of him. Chad Winstead in fifth right now, 21 seconds away from Austin Bloom. A very solid race. It looks like he just lost some time. We're going to try to find out what just happened, because it appears he might have just ran wide this lap. And there, he almost went to the barrier, keeps the car straight, and doesn't lose a spot because he is in his own world on this track, with a 13-second advantage to the driver in sixth in Dylan Petit. And not going to affect him all too much, but Winstead keeping it straight and keeping it safe for that driver of the 10 machine. Roberto Ramirez coming up on James McKee. It is 22 laps to go. And you know what that means. Instead of the 22 lap to go, actually my apologies, 22 minutes to go, we do have the 22 lap to go marker as well. But that is merely coincidence. 22 minutes to go, that is for certain. And that means it is time to send it to Craig up for the TrackCams22.com service. TrackCam for Gormans, best cameras on iRacing, we're using them, and they are absolutely the top of the line for any potential user of the iRacing service, and we hope you enjoy their presentation. Link is in the description. It's time to crank it up with TrackCams. Let's get to it once again. And returning from our crank it up, we saw once again Jeff Morash involved in an incident there. And that was caught barely. But the onboard cameras there are the best onboard cameras nonetheless in iRacing. And how about that? Morash going to get in the middle of this battle between the 93 and the 31. As Dylan Petit and Justin Gibbs appear to be the closest two drivers on the racetrack. And it's an incredible race. 1 hour of endurance, no stopping. You've got to be at your best every single lap. And 31 lap old tires, now 32 lap old tires, and some of these guys have chosen just not to pit. A surprising choice nonetheless. It appears maybe they're breaking the way that we saw this race beforehand. Because now it even seems that Ramirez is facing tire degradation. He's now half a second off of his best lap. But he set a new best lap, shattering his record by 1/10 of a second. And he's proven more and more that he's one of the fastest drivers in this league. Just ill timing when it comes to luck so far early in the going. As he gets past Matthew Rodriguez with ease. And Austin Bloom is back up to Brad Kress. He has turned on the jets and is ready to fight once again for second. Alan Kuhlman gets in the middle of him. Kuhlman certainly trying to get back to the lead lap. Not going to be able to happen with these two guys. Brad Kress knows he's not going to be given an inch by the driver of the 8 machine, who's certainly looking to get back into the fight no matter how. While a challenge, being able to do so, Alan Kuhlman not going to be able to give up, because that is just not the way he is in that Columbia 8 machine. Justin Gibbs toe-to-toe there with Dylan Petit with 18 minutes remaining. This could be one of the battles that goes down to the wire. We'll see whether or not it's able to do so. Down to the inside, Justin Gibbs is, and it looks like this time by he is able to get it on Dylan Petit. And Gibbs, there he goes. That is 4-6. And at the start-finish line, the first time in line that collects that pass for position. 93 machine on his way, and Dylan Petit put down by 1. Austin Bloom down to the inside on Alan Kuhlman. Time to go back after the driver of the 29 who's been second all race. As consistent as Roberto Ramirez has been, consistency while defending is what Brad Kress has been excelling at all race. And in second right now with the breast cancer awareness Exalta machine, pushing to the limit. Well, it might be a different limit from Roberto Ramirez, of course, on a different level tonight. The 42 is Brad Kress. Certainly not one count out of this one, because he's looking for just a lot more after a few poor runs. Certainly the talent to keep up with the best of the best in this league. A very impressive job there, the driver of that number 29 machine. Very good job, and he's keeping it in second in spite of all of the pressure. And a guy like Austin Bloom, you got to keep out for, because he's one of the fastest guys in this league, consistently in the top 3. The podium places are where he loves to be. He's got the talent to be there all of the time. And a guy like Brad Kress fighting for every position. How about that for the driver of the 29 machine? Scott Wheeler Jr. on his way as well. He's in frame, and he looks to be one of the next drivers to pass Alan Kuhlman. Not the best night for Alan Kuhlman's championship chances as Scott Wheeler goes into pit road. And this might just be the mandatory segment when it comes to timing stops. No way these guys can go on one entire stint. As we mentioned, how about we show you the standings going into this race. After race number 4, it was Scott Wheeler Jr., of course, leading by a mile in championship standings. And then Kendall Kerr, Alan Kuhlman, James McKee, Scott Zellner, Garrett Sidnor, Dylan Petit, Jason Harris, Adam Bozzi, and Matthew Rodriguez, with Justin Gibbs and Dalton Beer as well in the top segments of the point standings. Alan Kuhlman, Kendall Kerr not having the best night. Scott Wheeler Jr. on pit road right now, which might even everything out. But the best driver when it comes to all of them in this race so far appears to be Wheeler. But now, according to timing and scoring, might just be the driver of Kendall Kerr. Kendall Kerr now up into 8th position right now and looks to be ahead of the driver of Alan Kuhlman, and might just come out ahead, but he doesn't. of Scott Wheeler Jr., only 3 spots back on the driver who leads the points so far. Those two, 22 points separated from one another so far in this season. The battle will continue to intensify as the racing goes on. Very intense battle between those guys in the championship standings so far. It's going to be a great one to watch all season long. Watch out for that. Back to the action, however. As we watch, Kendall Kerr's 21 machine. He's in 8th right now. Dylan Petit in 7th. Justin Gibbs is in 6th. And Scott Wheeler, in a world of his own, is in 5th. As Roberto Ramirez, for the first time, has come off of pit road. He's still 7 seconds ahead of Brad Kress. Only driver on 35 lap old tires now. It looks to be Chad Winstead. Winstead going for one more lap around, it appears, before heading to pit road for the first time tonight. And now with a 6-second lead cut in half. Brad Kress has done that. Will he be able to cut the other half through? We're going to be able to find out in just a few laps time. 13 minutes. It is crunch time for every driver, now or never, to get this victory. And Austin Bloom been chasing Kress all race. Whether or not he's able to keep up for certain, we know he is, but is he able to pass? We're going to have to find out. Unfortunately for the driver of that 3 machine, the hard way. You're going to have to be able to get up to the driver of Brad Kress. At that point, he'll be able to set up the pass to perhaps put him in the runner-up spot. Chad Winstead in 4th, Scott Wheeler in 5th, and Justin Gibbs is in position number 6. Dylan Petit in 7th, and Kendall Kerr is in 8th, Aaron Sidor in 9th. And finally, James McKee rounds out your top 10. 12 minutes remain on the clock in the California Walnut Company Grand Prix. How about that? Kress now appears to be just a bit faster. Now 5.5 seconds remaining in his lead. Roberto Ramirez and Brad Kress in 2nd, doing a great job so far. This looks to be the best he's done all race. Might be the most important time. Be quicker than our race leader, who had a 12-second lead, cut down to 5. Chad Winstead is in 4th now, the 10 machine, as he is not pitted for tires just yet. Scott Wheeler is in 5th, Justin Gibbs is in 6th, Dylan Petit position number 7, and Kendall Kerr is in 8th. And these guys are all in their own world, with the exception of Austin Bloom, still chasing down Brad Kress. And the majority of these guys appear to be separated by upwards of 5 seconds from one another. Roberto Ramirez now has to be perfect. How about we take a ride on board for one lap with our leader, who's led every second of this race, and see how he does it. Up into 4th gear to start it. And gonna back it down into 3rd, then 2nd. Keeps it in 2nd, using every apex to his advantage. A very safe off exit to make sure that he doesn't slide off into the gravel. Keeping it in 2nd during the early segments of this lap. Coming down to the first of these two, just about 90-degree angle turns. 2nd gear. His best friend is Chad Winstead, going to lose a spot. We'll check on that in just a moment. He's losing a ton of time. Winstead might have just been the car. Apologies, but we're going to see as he looks like he's actually came down pit road. Roberto Ramirez will be watching again. Keeping it in 3rd, now going to get up to 4th. Backing it down. And this is the slowest part of the racetrack. With 10 laps, rather 10 minutes to go, less than 10 laps to go now. It's do or die for the driver of the 42 machine, as Brad Kress appears to be just a bit faster, 5 seconds flat the difference. And laying back all race, Brad Kress has to be faster now compared to any other time will be especially important, as Dalton Beer going to be off track to get it back on track. As Justin Gibbs coming down pit road for the first time tonight. Dylan Petit still on his way. Now he is entering pit road. And there he goes. For the 31 machine, Chad Winstead going to be able to gain just a few spots back as he has made his way back up to 6th and 7th positions, respectively. Scott Wheeler fights now, not for position with Terry Brooks, but he's there. Winstead gets both Sidnor and Gibbs at once. Terry Brooks is now in 12th, Kunman in 10th, with 11th position going to the driver of Kendall Kerr. Matthew Rodriguez is going to blow the corner out just a bit, but not going to be enough for the driver of Kerr to get past him. Dylan Petit going to be coming onto the racetrack right now. Kendall Kerr not going to be there. And Kunman up into 9th. Dylan Petit going to have to fight with Kendall Kerr, who's coming up right now, trying to get that position. It looks to be the final cycle of stops there. Roberto Ramirez, a one-stop strategy, keeping him in the race lead. And as a result, with 8 minutes and 52 seconds remaining, Roberto Ramirez might be able to run away with this one after all. And backing it down through the corners once again for the driver of the 42 machine. And a lot of incidents on racetrack, but none of them have been involving the driver of the 42 machine. And Roberto Ramirez absolutely flawless tonight so far. And of course, the race is far from over. And it ain't over till it is over. But a driver like Roberto Ramirez not looking to give this one away. He's led every second of this race in dominating fashion. At least a car like his lead from the very, very beginning. And with 5.7 seconds leading this pack. Matthew Rodriguez now in front. Looks like he's going to let our leader by. As Kendall Kerr, the last driver on the lead lap in 11th. And now see the leader in his rearview mirror. And now it looks like every driver is separated by just about 2.5 seconds from one another. If they're fighting for position. Well, it is unfortunate. Still a lot of guys fighting hard, and we see that Brandon Wenjard just went off. Instant replay on the matter. Let's see what just happened. Down to the inside line. Missed the apex. Sent it into the inside barrier. I'm going to reverse out of it. Minor damage to the front of that car. I'm going to get back on his way with the left front crumpled up on the hood. And the 24 machine still in 15th. Not going to lose a position after that one, but is going to go a lap down. 3 laps down overall, but going to go yet another lap down because of that. And on his way, the 24 machine still is Matthew Rodriguez 2 laps down, Clint Spillman 1 lap down, and Terry Brooks a lap down as well, with Kendall Kerr being chased down for that final driver to lap. Which would mean that overall, the driver of the 42 machine will put every driver down except for everyone in the top 10 if he's able to get Kendall Kerr. And everyone just blinks off for a moment's notice. And not aware why it's going on. Server issue, it appears. As everyone's going to pop up back again. Apologies for what's going on. It appears some of these guys are having a little bit of trouble showing up on your screen. Austin Bloom on his way, though. Nonetheless, fighting with Brad Kress for position. And it looks like Brad Kress has a lot of damage. Although that's the audio we're hearing, which might not be accurate. Because it looks like it's not pulling the correct audio. We'll try to go on board because it looks like some crumpled up 29 machinery. Though that might just be some cosmetic damage that we're missing. Apologies for that. 5 minutes and 32 seconds remain. And Kendall Kerr playing the game with Roberto Ramirez to try to stay on the lead lap, but he's not going to play it anymore. 10 cars on the lead lap. Kendall Kerr will surrender to the battle. And now the next driver to lap would be the driver of Dylan Petit, who's only a few seconds ahead of the driver, Kendall Kerr. Scott Wheeler up to 4th. And this would be, once again, we're saying it again, this would be the worst finish he has all season long. And it would still be a 4th place showing A very impressive job, but it looks like this time by not going to be able to bail himself out. He is 13 seconds away from Austin Bloom. And Austin Bloom is 1 second away from Brad Kress. No way to catch either of those drivers for the driver of the 97. And this is going to be the first time he's going to have to settle for something outside of the podium all year. As Kress going to go down to the inside line. Matthew Rodriguez is going to bail out of that one. And James McKee going to be fighting with Garrett Sidnor. Sidnor coming down on pit road once again. Looks like he's going to be exiting this time by. Ramirez coming down once again to the hairpin. Is Alan Koopman going to be able to get the position on Garrett Sidnor? Dylan Petit does get that position as well, and Sidnor will be yet another driver lapped. Although it looks like he's going to come out very close to our leader, but Ramirez is going to get him. 9 cars on the lead lap now for Roberto Ramirez. Next one to catch up to would be Dylan Petit nonetheless. While Petit's on his way, Roberto Ramirez is chasing him down effortlessly so far. Justin Gibbs locked in a battle with James McKee. This is for 6th on the track. If he's able to get it, going to be a very impressive job because we've seen that Justin Gibbs has been battling around the lower top 10, if not outside of the top 10. To be up here is a shock, but a great shock to see a driver with such performance, as we haven't seen him like that all race long. Winstead in the top 5. Scott Wheeler in 4th. Austin Bloom rounds out your podium. And now he's just about 7/10 away from Brad Kress, close as he's been in about 15 laps. The battle rages on. And let's see whether or not the Dream Machine is going to be the one that comes out on top. Jeff Morash once again going to take the wide route on the hairpin. Now we have just about 2 laps to go. In terms of time, we have another member of the chat room coming again. Go get him, Gibbs. Axel Load says. And Gibbs having a great run here tonight as he's chasing down James McKee. A second and almost a second and a half to do it. He was able to get back there. Just has to nail those second and a half down to get up to position number 6. And Kress in second all race. Is he going to be able to hold on? That is the question, with half a second the difference for the top 2 drivers. Of course, the top 2 when it comes to the runner-up battle. The lead still held by Ramirez, with Rodriguez very far behind. Ramirez, nonetheless, is fighting hard. He's got 7.5 second advantage over the remainder of the field. Very impressive job. But Brad Kress going to have to hold on as Austin Bloom making a very late race charge. Less than half a second. The difference between those two. Let's watch on board. Coming down to the carousel once again. But this time by for Roberto Ramirez. It's not going to be 1 lap to go. Flagman has not waved the white flag. Quick verification as Austin Bloom bringing the heat to the driver of the 29 machine. And Bloom, now it appears it's going to be 1 lap to go after this one. The driver of the Dream Machine to catch Brad Kress. Justin Gibbs still a second and a half behind James McKee. Roberto Ramirez dominating all night long. Not a second out of the lead. And truly an incredible performance from the driver of the 42 machine to get this one done. Would mean so much for this team after the misfortune they faced earlier on in this year. It looks like he might be able to set 1 more lap off. If he's able to do so, he might get a slight extension with 20 seconds on the clock. Roberto Ramirez is going to come down one last time, it appears. And it's white flag here in Sonoma. The final lap for any driver to get anything done. And it's going to all come down to this one, as Ramirez leads the way in dominating fashion. 2/10 of a second separate second and third right now. These are the battles you're going to want to watch. These top two drivers, they're pretty close to one another, or they were pretty close to one another. Now it is second and third the closest, with 0.6 of a second the difference at the absolute most. Austin Bloom, third all race. Brad Crest, second all race. Defense versus offense. And this is the final time to see whether or not any of these guys have anything for one another. They've been playing it close, but not playing it with any contact all race long. This could be the time to see whether or not that changes. Ramirez coming into the hairpin. This time by. Final bend. The hairpin. You navigate this successfully, you win the race. Slowing it down, but certainly Ramirez, not a fan of that. On the ball all race. Not out of the lead for a second. Roberto Ramirez is going to take the victory in the California Walnut Company Grand Prix at Sonoma in an amazing fashion. And Brad Crest will come home in second, just in front of Austin Bloom. Scott Wheeler takes fourth, it appears, so long as he holds on. And finally, 27 seconds behind, Chad Winstead will be the next man up in fifth. And by the time he hits the checkered flag, Roberto Ramirez will already be burning it down. And burning it down as he should, Roberto Ramirez does. And the celebration still appears far from over, on his way. Nonetheless, the driver of the 42 machine going to come up alongside Chad Winstead. Jason McKee gets it over Justin Gibbs. Alan coming in 8th. And it looks like Dylan Petit and Garrett Zinn will round out the top 10 with Ken LeCoeur in 11th. And coming down to the hairpin, perhaps going to burn down in the dead center. We'll see. The choice is his. Roberto Ramirez getting it done for the first time this season. What a performance on the road for Roberto. And it looks like the burnouts might be over, but they're not. It's still on his way, the 42 machine is. Coming down to burn down on the start-finish line. Listen, we have an incident on pit road involving Dylan Petit and Alan Goodman. But nonetheless, race winner, it's Roberto Ramirez in style. And the engine still not blown, so he's still going to keep going. And there he goes, just about in the start-finish line. And he's going to burn down once more. It appears this time by, it might be the end of the celebration for Roberto Ramirez, but certainly, what a performance. And they must be especially excited as the motor has blown, but it doesn't matter now. Roberto Ramirez, you won that one. It was stripe to stripe. Every second you were in the lead, and nobody seemed to stop you tonight. How are you feeling after that incredible performance here in Sonoma?
It feels good, man. It's just a testament to my teammates, I think. None of them were here tonight, but I just want to give a shout out to KC, JR, Ryan, Calvin, Patrick, the Misfit Mafia. I can be a lot to deal with sometimes, but they've really been helpful to get me up to speed these last couple of years, and this is a testament to them. As for the race, it was it was fun. I had fun. It was hard, probably the hardest race I've run on iRacing, just from like a physical standpoint. I don't usually like feel that way, but like, it was just like it was tough, to run that high of a level every single lap. These cup cars, they do not have a lot of tire wear, and so you got to run them as hard as you possibly can every lap, and that's tough when you have someone like Brad, who's just breathing down my neck the first probably 20 minutes of the race. And it's a lot of pressure, but I try to be built for that, and I think it paid off tonight.
Absolutely paid off tonight, pushing it to the limit. We noticed how quick your laps were. Every single lap seemed to be very low degradation in your lap times over the course of the race, setting new lap records. You went about 0.6 quicker overall from the start of the race to your absolute best, and you pushed it to the limit, as you said there. And was there any thought in your mind that you had maybe not enough of the gap to maybe take a break, or was it just all the way, all the time?
On the last pit stop, I probably took too much fuel because I gave up. I think I was 14 seconds ahead of Brad before pit stops, and by the time it cycled out, I was 6 seconds ahead. So I was really at that point. Just don't make a mistake, because if you have one off here, that can be a toe link. That could be the end of your race, and just not making mistakes was my priority more than anything. I probably put, like I said, I probably put too much fuel in, but I was just being cautious because it really got to a point where I felt that the only person that could beat me was myself, because I had a 14-second lead at Sonoma. It's not easy to give that up. So, I mean, really, you want the biggest gap possible, but you just, more than anything, it's just not making mistakes.
Absolutely not making mistakes, and you made none here tonight, leading from the flag to the flag. How are you feeling about bringing this momentum into next week as the season is going to hit to its halfway mark?
It feels good. Last week was not my best race, and I told Adam that last week. I ran over him pretty good in the first segment of the race, and I was kind of racing like a butthead the whole second half of that race, starting from the back, trying to make it up, and I feel like the speed's been there all season, just haven't had the results and composure to show for it. So it's going to be a big momentum boost going into next week, and looking forward to Bristol. Short tracks are always, I wouldn't say they're good for me, but I enjoy going to them a lot, and Bristol's a good racetrack.
Absolutely momentum boost that is much needed for this team and getting it done for the first time this season. Any final thoughts before we leave this one off?
I just want to thank you for broadcasting. Thank everyone for a clean race. I had fun.
Well, absolutely. Driver of the 42 machine and Roberto Ramirez, thank you for your time, and what a victory. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And there we go for the driver of the 42 machine. And how about our second position driver in Brad Crest in the 29 machine? Second tonight, and it was a very hard defense game you played all day. How are you feeling after that one?
Well, burning up right now. I'm more out.
It absolutely seemed to be a very hard race for every one of these drivers, pushing to the limit, and you had Austin Bloom behind you the whole time. How hard was it fighting that battle every minute of the race?
He definitely had me watching my mirror quite a bit. I thought I was going to be able to stay with Roberto at the beginning of the race, and once we cleared the first lap car, he just checked out, and I couldn't hold a candle to him. He was in a league of his own. I was just trying to keep that 3 car behind me.
And absolutely keeping the 3 car behind you for the majority of the race, that was the goal, and you were able to do so for the final, I believe, 40 minutes, because Roberto mentioned to me that you were just with him for the first 20, and from there on out, it became a defense game. And how hard was it defending against a driver like Austin Bloom?
It was pretty tough because he would gain on me quite a bit, and then I would pull away from him. I don't know if he was just letting his tires cool off or what he was doing, but right when I thought I was going to get away, he would just reel me back in, and it was the same fight over again.
Absolutely. The fight continued the entire way through. Now, pit strategy did come into the equation, and how important was that in being able to keep that advantage in the second position?
Well, I was hoping Roberto would spend a little more time on pit road because the tires didn't really seem to play that much of a factor on this car. So I just took a splash of gas and went on. And I think Austin may have done the same thing because we came down pit road together and we left together. But I was hoping Roberto might spend a little more time down there, but apparently he didn't.
Absolutely did not there. But either way, second position here tonight. How are you feeling with the second half of the season in front of us?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. This is kind of where we should be running the whole, from the start of the season. I've had some computer issues for the first couple of races, and hopefully it seems like we've got that straightened out. So hopefully we'll be able to stay up here and talk to you guys some more.
Absolutely would be great to hear. Any final thoughts before we leave this one off?
Now, I just want to give a shout out to you guys for putting this thing on. You guys do an awesome job. I go back and watch them, the next day, every race. And for Toby and Kendall for putting the whole thing together. We'll give a shout out to my aunt and uncle, Juanita and Wade, for watching. They've been watching for the last little bit. Finally got to put it up front for them.
Well, absolutely. Second place here tonight. What a performance. And thank you for stopping by. Brad Kress in the 29 machine. Thank you once again.
Thanks, guys.
And that is going to end your podium procedure here tonight. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get a conversation with Austin Bloom. We will run through our race results before we conclude this presentation. Thank you all for stopping by with this performance. Of course, what a performance by Roberto Ramirez, who got it done in dominating fashion. And here is your race results for tonight's event. Led by Roberto Ramirez in first position, then Brad Kress in second. Austin Bloom rounded out your podium in the 3 machine. Then it's Scott Wheeler in fourth, Chad Winstead in fifth, James McKee, Justin Gibbs, Alan Kuhlman, and Dylan Petit in ninth, was the final driver in the lead lap, while Garrett Sidnor was the final driver in the top 10, the final driver to be lapped. He was lapped on pit road, with Ken Kerr being the final driver lapped on the track. Terry Brooks in 12th, Clint Spillman in 13th, Matthew Rodriguez in 14th, Brandon Wenjard, who we saw spin on the very early section of the racetrack, finished in 15th, 3 laps down. Then it was Jeff Morash, Dalton Beer, Jason Harris, Jacob Hall, and Kenny Brooks rounding out the top 20, 30 laps down, with Adam Bozzi in 21st, Ty Smith in 22nd, Andrew Baker in 23rd, and finally Scott Zellner, 24th, with a first lap incident that he was not able to escape without permanently keeping his car on pit road. And those are the results for today's event. I want to thank every single one of you for stopping by and watching this one. It's always greatly appreciated on this channel. Thank you all. It's Sonoma. We thought outside the oval here tonight, and it was a great race as a result. Second half of the season is upon us. We are going to get to that point, and the points situation will become more and more important as this season goes on. The battle between Wheeler and Kendall Kerr in the points championship, it's just getting started. Thank you all for watching tonight. We hope you enjoyed this show, and I hope that you come back next week. We've got a load of new content coming very, very soon. And of course, the Highline Racing League, the premier series, is a premier event every Thursday night. The best place to be. And we thank you all for spending your time here with us on your Thursday nights. Thank you all once again, and we hope you have a great night.